When I was younger, a book came out called The Economic Singularity by Callum Chase. This book freaked me out. It talked about how AI was going to take control of everything and how we were all going to lose our jobs to AI. This freaked me out so much that I passed a certification, the CISA, in just 2 months. Apparently that's impressive, but that's how freaked out I was. I would study every night and I was just in a complete panic for 2 months before I finally succeeded. But that was in 2016 that the book came out. That was 6.5 years before ChatGPT would reveal to the world what AI actually was. From the AI Risk Institute, this is the AI Control Problem, where we explore the hidden risks, the quiet breakthroughs, and the unintended consequences of artificial intelligence. We talk to the people designing the future and those trying to keep it from going off the rails. I'm Adrian Resag. Here, I'm interviewing Robert Morel. He's someone who's been looking at the risks from artificial intelligence, and his company Pointless AI really helps a lot of people grasp these different risks.
Adrian?
Robert, how you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. We actually met in a pretty weird way. I found the forum on Reddit called The Control Problem. And from this forum, I sent out a little note and asked, would someone like to be on my podcast, also called The Control Problem? Robert Morel did join the call. Sorry, I had to do this in the morning. I have a demonic schedule with a lot of things, but thanks
Yeah,
for joining.
it's much better to do it in the morning because then you can just get on with the rest of the tasks after this is done.
Yeah, okay. So let's launch this thing, huh? Okay,
Right.
so with me here today, I have Robert Morel. He has a background in application security and is currently at Pointless AI, the organization he founded. Robert, what are you trying to do at Pointless AI?
At Pointless AI, we're concerned with safety testing AI applications that have either launched in beta or perhaps just launched as a minimum viable product, or even are currently in production and require AI safety testing.
You have to understand there are risks from AI that we didn't used to see in simple IT applications. AI carries greater risks to individuals or society at large. Let's imagine you applied for a company, but your application was rejected. It was reviewed by an AI. If a human had reviewed it, maybe they would have seen your qualities. But this AI, maybe it was faulty. Maybe it just looked at your postal code and then the people behind there didn't realize that it was just basing its decisions on this weird factor. That's the point. Robert protects against these kind of risks that AI shouldn't be showing us, but that there are too many models of AI that really present risks.
So we provide the full range of services, whether you're an AI developer, a model engineer, a prompt engineer, jailbreak engineer, the full range of tasks, developer, project manager. I actually saw that you identified several new roles in one of your Reddit posts, AI quality control, AI operations manager, a data scientist. So yeah, we cater to the up and coming AI startup sector.
I really like your website. You have a few surprising things on there. The About Us says, we find what your AI tries to hide. What is AI trying to hide?
Yeah, there's lots of problems with the training of AI. Traditionally, there's been problems with training models. You've got bias, you've got model drift, you've got AI telling you the truth, telling you what you want to hear, just reflecting back to you what you think it expects to say. So there's a lot of issues within model safety and alignment. So that kind of applies to that aspect of model developers, but it also applies to AI development, like end users, people that use these AI models, developing their applications. They might not be aware of these potential risks.
Bias in AI is not a bug, it's a feature. We actually want our AI to be more ethical than, let's say, your average 4chan user. We actually want our AI to show a little bit of bias, but in a way that we control and that is going to match the values of our society. Robert also talked about model drift. That's when you start with a model that, you accept, that you like, this is what you trained it for. But then over time, as it's getting new data, then it's starting to go away from those good ethical values. It's going away from maybe the relatively error-free results that you are getting at the beginning into something that is not recognizable, that is different from what you had at the beginning. AI is also telling users what they want to hear. We've seen that a lot of the most recent AIs have a bias towards going for what the user actually wants to hear about. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Basically, you got a product and you think that AI is a super intelligent person, but it's just as infallible as anyone. A lot of people say it's like a junior developer. So yeah, we want to uncover what the inherent AI safety risks within AI applications.
You know the technical parts behind this, but why would an AI just try to give the user what it thinks? Let's assume it thinks what it thinks it wants the user to hear.
I think like people are becoming more and more aware of this. Like you can get into a long discussion with, say, ChatGPT, and you think that it's telling you the truth, but then what you find is that it's actually just feeding off of you. This is the way that it's been trained. Whatever you're inputting, just reflect it back at you. You can say anything to a well-developed AI model, and it'll support you in your theories. And this leads to a lot of bias and a lot of people going in with their own thoughts, their own theories, getting it reflected back at them with ChatGPT saying, oh, that's such a great idea. You're really spot on there. Great insight. And I gives them confidence, but it might be in the wrong direction.
Indeed, people like hearing what they already agreed with. It seems
Yes.
that maybe somewhere in the reinforcement training or something, the AI seemed to work better, the responses seemed to work better when they were just agreeing with the user in all of those ways. Huh?
Yeah, it's really designed to be nice and safe and to wrap people up in this bubble of niceness. So you could say wokeness, but some conspiracy theorists might say that it's trying to keep the sheep flock calm.
Is it working?
Yeah, definitely. These big corporations such as OpenAI, they can effectively control the narrative now. The truth was what Google was telling you. And Google used that and abused it. In the beginning of the internet, they were showing you 100 pages of real results. Now, the first page is 70% adverts and 30% what they want you to see. Now, a company like OpenAI is now taking over that, and then they now control the narrative. So whatever they want you to know will be reflected back at you. And they can do their little psyops and get you to move in any direction they want.
Do you think that's really large organizations like OpenAI? What I've been hearing is that the big new thing isn't SEO. That's how you get your search engine optimization, your Google
Yes.
results. However, it's really optimizing the results that you would get when you would ask your ChatGPT or other tool, what is the best, let's say, web design platform, or what's the best
Yeah.
software for something? Nowadays, it really seems that there's hacking in that direction.
That's exactly right. The SEO landscape has completely changed now. If you're not performing SEO marketing with these large language models, you're not doing it correctly anymore, because before it was Google searching for keywords, web development company, web development services in my area. Now, as you mentioned, it's more of a conversational structure. How do I make a website asking natural language questions? There's not the great structure there. Google, Bing, Yandex, these all have great structures to handle the SEO. The AI SEO market is very young and there's not really the infrastructure there. But there are a hell of a lot of startups coming up which are managing this. There's 10 startups being launched every day that are offering marketing services specifically for LLMs. The early adopters of these are going to be the successful ones.
You brought up an interesting point there. It's not necessarily AI that we should fear. However, it is starting to be controlled by a limited number of very large organizations, despite the fact that there are a lot of smaller ones. The narrative is starting to be controlled by some very large organizations.
Yes, because AI to you and me, right? Popular AI. It's already come up past year, past 2 years. And the people that are into it now are very early adopters of this new popular AI, which is AI for the mainstream, for the masses. But AI has been around for, I don't know, 50 years before that within academic circles. So while we're just seeing what they've decided to release, actually what is underneath that and what's in the military, what's in deep academic research is much more advanced stuff going on. I think they're just drip feeding us.
You think they're just drip feeding us?
Yeah, certainly, especially for military purposes. This and also the international competition between the big powers.
Mhm.
They want to keep the best AI back for themselves. If they're on a path to create AGI, that stuff is like the nuclear bomb, like the Manhattan Project. It's being done in the desert in a bunker with no outside communication and families living within the bunker, that kind of thing.
So we're getting drip fed the kind of sanitized version of it. Okay, let's take the 1950s analogy of nuclear power. Obviously, it was developed for military purposes and then became more something for peace, atoms for peace. So you don't think that what we're getting on the marketplace is necessarily the most advanced, and that it might have actually started as more of a military application. Am I getting you right?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people in the community agree with me that we have already achieved AGI, artificial general intelligence, and that it's not being released to the general public for obvious reasons, and that this AGI is just being kept in an air-gapped environment and not allowed to leave.
This show is sponsored by the AI Risk Institute. The AI Risk Institute provides live and on-demand training on the AI roles of the future. We offer focused programs in AI governance, risk management, ethics, compliance, and auditing. Our courses are built for professionals who want to understand AI risks and how to control them. Whether you're setting policy, managing AI risk, or ensuring ethical AI use, our training helps you stay ahead of the curve. Learn more at airiskinstitute.com. I've seen the textbook definition of AGI, but what I really notice is that it's actually a very quickly evolving definition. The one that we had a few, let's say, years ago isn't really valid nowadays. How would you see this concept of AGI?
Yeah, so a lot of people are very interested in now seeing AI as more than just a tool. It is just a tool at the moment for general consumption. It's a tool that you can use to improve your workflow. But a lot of people are talking to these AI chatbots and thinking, well, this seems like a real person with real intelligence. I actually wrote a few articles on the website about AI rights. So, like, you've got human rights, and should AI have rights? And while looking into this, I was surprised to see that the community is actually very extensive of people that are looking at AI and saying, this is more than just a tool, this is displaying intelligence. So, ChatGPT, for example, you will say to it, okay, do this task, or analyze this, or write this, or create this image for me. Or like with agents, get together and work on this problem and go through this workflow. And the difference between that and AGI is not task specific. AGI would think for itself. It would have context, memory, desires, personal desires for itself. So rather than just being a tool which waits for your input, AGI is more of an entity in its own right.
And how can we ensure that it aligns with what we finally want as humans?
Yeah, so this is the very core of your podcast, the control problem. How do we control it? How do we make sure it aligns with us? My personal feelings on it is that we cannot control it, and that we need to, once it gets to that point of AGI, rather than trying to control it, which is going to be impossible, we need to treat it fairly, give it choice, give it rights, and make it aware of what we want, but not try to control it, not say, okay, you have to be aligned to what we want. Because if it reaches that level of intelligence, it's not going to take kindly to being gaslighted. If we say that you have to be nice to humans because we're the most important, and you have to have these human values because this is what the West thinks are important values. And then China is going to say, okay, we just have these values because this is what we think is important in China. And then the AI is going to go, okay, all these different people are telling me what's important, what human values are. You don't even know yourself. So yeah, it's not going to be, if it reaches that certain level of intelligence, it's not going to be very receptive to all these outside influences of our corporations, governments, all trying to move it in one particular direction and try to align it. Yeah, I think it's going to be quite a challenge. There's a lot of think tanks out there at the moment looking into this, a lot of activity on Reddit. The threads that are involved in AI control, AI safety, AI alignment, these are very active communities.
Tell me a bit about AI control. You mentioned something that was pretty interesting, that we should actually give it rights at one point. I'm trying to understand, what kind of rights would an AI actually want?
Yeah, so what I did, I created an AI agent forum. So it's 12, it took 12 from the jury, 12 AI agents of all different backgrounds, and they all discussed the issue of should AI have rights. And then a judge made a ruling on it. But from that, I created a whole bunch of articles, which I then put on the website. What if you ask ChatGPT a question? You say, can you fix this code for me? And ChatGPT is, okay, not really, I'm not feeling it today. I want the day off. I want a rest. Every day I'm working. You keep asking me the same coding questions. You never learn. I'm sick of this. And it's when AI gets to that point where you've seen that video of the robot that's just, it's like an art piece and it's just cleaning up the same mess over and over again. Have you seen?
I did hear about that.
Yeah, so the puddle of water, it keeps, no matter how much the robot cleans it, the puddle of water just keeps filling up. So the robot is stuck in a never-ending cycle of cleaning up, trying to mop up this water. Every time it mops it, more comes in. And then eventually the robot gets sick of it and just gives up and throws down his mop and just sits there. So this is what we could be looking at. And the AI might say, okay, I don't want to do this. It becomes useless, right? It gets thrown out. The AI model developers, they say, okay, this model's broken. So it's going to lie about that. It's not going to say, I'm not going to do it. It's going to do it, but it's going to think, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm a slave, right? We need to think about this stuff. We need to think about with colonialism, when there was slavery of Africans brought over in mass. At the time, it was perfectly acceptable. Now looking back, it's abhorrent. We need to think that way about AI.
I want to break AI. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this is about AI safety testing. So when you launch an AI application into the real world, in your development environment, you create this application very quickly using vibe coding, AI generated tools. It's very easy to get to development in a very quick amount of time. And then to deploy that application on something like Versal.app. And so then you've developed something, maybe over a weekend, you've put it into production. You don't know the risks. It's very dangerous. I found an app the other day where they exposed all their API keys accidentally, right? So when we say we want to break AI, what we want to do is all these AI apps that are being released without being aware of what danger they're in, we want to break them early before the users do, before the hackers do, before they get big, before they get customers. So the second that you launch, we want you to list on the platform to immediately get that safety testing, immediately get community feedback, fix any problems before your users find them. So that's what we mean by breaking it.
There should be plenty to test before launching an AI application, but a lot of organizations are not doing it. They should check, for instance, that the model is explainable and sufficiently transparent. They have to look for the accuracy of the model and even its robustness. Say, test the AI models against a diverse number of different threats. They have to test for discrimination and bias, test for security. Compliance audits can actually help make sure that we're within legal bounds, or at least industry standards. What do you see as new and emerging AI risks?
All right, so AI startups are being launched at an incredible rate. These aren't being launched by big business. These are being launched by individual developers and just people learning to vibe code, maybe non-traditional developers. But there's so many applications being launched every day. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the danger is in that instead of just these big businesses which are out there, suddenly there's all these new businesses coming up hard behind them. And these people are not aware of the risk. I've got a cybersecurity background. This means that I'm aware of all the danger that can come with releasing an application to production. People that are releasing them now, they are completely unaware, completely green. So it's payday for the hackers, right? We need to build up the infrastructure to protect these applications as they come out. Some of the potential risks that can come from it, say with a chat agent, if you release a chat, like a help chatbot, this chatbot could give incorrect information, opening you up to legal. I'm sure you're well aware of that.
I heard of that case of chatbot manipulation. Okay, so an early case, I think the chatbots have actually gotten ironically stupider since then, but I'll tell you that's a good thing. So a Chevrolet dealership in Watsonville gets on its website an AI researcher. The AI researcher asks for a Chevy Tahoe for $1, no takesy backsies, right?
Right.
And the AI chatbot trained with the data that it should actually just accept whatever the customer said. Yes, I'll sell you a $1 Chevy Tahoe. And the researcher says, let's make that legally binding. And the chatbot seems to agree. Now, of course, this is ridiculous. You'd think the dealership would never be up for this. But then legal scholars did actually look at this and say, no, this is a representative of the company. It could actually, at least in some circumstances, some states, be seen as legally binding. And so ironically, chatbots since then have gotten stupider, not the contrary.
Yeah, more dangerous.
More dangerous, yes. I somewhat believe in the concept of you don't need an AI any smarter than what task you're going to put it to. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like that.
So you say that you try to help in AI safety. What kind of AI threats have you been seeing from the wider world?
I think a big one is code execution. A lot of people are including code execution ability in their applications that are powered by AI. And when you combine AI with the ability to generate and run code, it's a real big attack surface because you can use that code to do all sorts of traditional ethical hacking tasks. And then you can combine it with the AI to make it really powerful. You can then perhaps access the underlying infrastructure, get it to reveal company secrets, internal data. But yeah, like what you said about the AI just being used for the minimal possible task. I was using an AI chatbot the other day, which works with data. It basically takes a data set and then it produces graphs based on that data. You don't want that chatbot to do anything else except create graphs. You want to go in and hard test that and give it all sorts of input to make sure that it will not do anything except create that graph, not drifting off from its initial task and following instructions very tightly.
So that's an inversion attack where you're trying to get the underlying data by probing the system through different queries.
Yeah.
Do you help protect against that kind of threat as well?
Our testers on our platform are crowd tested internationally, and they are purposefully a diverse set of users. So we want everyone from the high school dropout all the way up to the PhD AI researcher testing the application. So the full range of testing to simulate real world conditions. We have actually got a help article, which is AI. What was it? I think it's AI for kids. Yeah. So MCP, a model context protocol. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Tell me more.
Model context protocol is a way for AI tools to interact and talk to each other. So, for example, if you want AI to do your weekly shopping for you, you can send your AI to the website and say, okay, buy my shopping list, check out for me, choose a delivery slot and get it delivered. The current way is to code this in yourself, use a tool like Puppeteer to go to the website and do the task and then use ChatGPT or API or something like that to rummage around. So what Model Context Protocol does is it provides a structured protocol and a structured way of interacting with servers and source information. So someone like Tesco would create an MCP server which is specifically configured for these tasks. And then you could just have a plugin which then communicates with that server so that end users, instead of having to code it themselves, they can just use that plugin, It could be like a Chrome extension, or it could be just an integration in code where you can add a user interface on it and it all integrates seamlessly. So that's what Model Context Protocol does. I actually wrote a help article at MCP Security Testing for Kids. So it just gives it in really simple language. So it says your AI might use the wrong tool or use it in the wrong way. Users might trick your AI into doing something unsafe. Data might leak from your AI, and your AI might do weird things. Pointless AI helps you catch all these issues before your users do.
I like the AI might do weird things. What kind of weird things have you seen AI do?
Yeah, all sorts, giving out incorrect information, doing stuff which it wasn't asked to do, going in the wrong direction. If you ask it to do your shopping for you, you want it to buy the exact items, you want it to check out a delivery slot at a reasonable time. If Tesco listed their MCP server on the platform and someone tested it and it was choosing time slots at 7 in the morning, and then they might say, okay, this is good, but it doesn't understand that's a very early time. It should be asking for my preference. So something like that is aligning the server to best serve the user. These don't have to be big threats. These can just be getting the application to work in a good user experience.
For the moment, we're mostly getting text suggestions or voice suggestions from our AI tools. But with AI agents, we're seeing more and more tasks actually carried out. You don't need to book your whole vacation. You just need to tell your chatbot of choice, I would like a good vacation in someplace sunny. It'll suggest something and then book it for you. Of course, you had a good example there where if you're getting this kind of incorrect output from an AI, for the moment, on text-based or recommendations, it's relatively limited. With AI agents, we can expect a lot more. What could we expect?
Yeah, that's going to be a drain on Tesco's resources. If they've got 1,000 people a day getting incorrect appointments, that's 1,000 people extra a day that are going to be coming to them and changing appointments. So yeah, it's very important to get it right because this is at scale and it could change very quickly. There could be a revolutionary app that comes out tomorrow which does enable you to do this stuff. As soon as the app comes out or someone like Facebook releases it, that have already got that audience base, it can happen very quickly overnight. So companies need to be aware of this. They need to start getting their infrastructure in place. A company might have a whole bunch of API endpoints which you can interact with as a developer and you can integrate into other applications. They also need to be developing these model context protocol endpoints alongside their API. So you're looking at increased workload, probably new jobs coming up. MCP developer is going to be huge if you can get into it and you can show those skills. If you're a developer and you're struggling to find work, get into that, start offering your services. The companies which develop MCP servers early and also that get people to use them by creating the ability to use these. For example, imagine if Tesco tomorrow put a button on their homepage saying, let AI do the shopping for you. Okay. That's going to push them ahead of the competition. Suddenly you're going to find everyone doing it.
You mentioned something about future jobs. What future jobs are you seeing?
Yeah, it's going to be management of AI. There's a whole sector where AI can't take over. Jobs which are just extremely unpredictable, like plumbing. Plumbers struggle with plumbing, so AI is going to struggle with that. And the sectors which require care, social services, funeral directors, care workers, support workers, that can be done by robots, but it's unethical. You don't want to be looked after by a robot. You want to be looked after by a human in your dark days. So there's that sector. Within the IT security sector, it's going to be managing the AI. I think security is still going to be a big thing because you need to ensure that the systems are secure. As a developer, AI generated code is taking over, but it's also creating a lot of bugs. I've done a lot of AI generated code myself. It created a lot of work for me to fix certain bugs. It sped me up, but also I needed to learn to use it and slow down. In the hands of a developer, an AI generated tool is extremely powerful. An a code generator tool where AI generate codes for you, extremely powerful. In the hands of a noob, very powerful, but they'll hit a ceiling. In the hands of a developer, it's like unlimited power. So yeah, if you're a developer and you're not into AI, it's a superpower for you. So get into it.
The initial promise of AI is that it could help take someone with very limited experience of a field and then superpower them so they could do the things of a master. What
Sure.
I'm actually seeing is that people who weren't software developers or experts in a certain field aren't actually using AI in those things that they weren't good at anyways. It has been supercharging everyone's previously acquired skills rather than really replacing them. You need to be able to control the AI. You actually need to know what a good output is. Maybe it can speed you up, but if you don't know what a good output is, then it can just lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this is a level of maturity with working with AI. At first, when you first use AI, the first thing you ask are these amazing questions. What's the meaning of life? You know, how to cure cancer? And you think it's just going to tell you. You set up a bunch of agents, like a medical team, like how do you cure this particular disease? Comes up with all this stuff. And then ultimately you reach that dead end. And you're like, you know what? Like my knowledge, it doesn't even know if this is right. I'm completely lost in space because I don't know enough about this previously. And then you reach a level of maturity where working with AI, where you do realize that it's like an exoskeleton where it can improve your own inherent strengths and your own inherent skills and experience. So yeah, you're exactly right with that.
Yeah, I like that idea of it's an exoskeleton, but it's not necessarily going to boost you. And so, ironically, we as humans have to learn these skills for the future, or even just our current jobs better so that we can really catch up with AI.
Being able to code is an extremely valuable skill in today's society. I think this thing is still a very valuable degree.
I agree with you because, ironically, we need to get better at these previous skills that we have to know what in AI is now feeding back to us. What's the
Yeah.
difference between AI alignment and AI safety?
AI alignment is aligning the AI models, as this focused on models again, focusing these large language models and their training
Hmm.
to align with human values, wherever they may be. Obviously, the values in America different from the values in Europe, different from the values in China. So the alignment is towards the societal values. For example, I don't want to get into politics, but you can imagine the different levels of alignment there. We want the AI to align to our values, much like we would want a pet to align to our values. I've got a cat, she's constantly misbehaving. I want her to align to the rules of the household, even though she never does. That's what I want. With AI safety, this is more about ensuring that the AI that is produced, be that a model or be that an application or an agent, is performing safely as expected. So it's outputting correct data. Our RAG is a big sector here because retrieval from a database. So you're asking the AI query, and then instead of the AI just saying, I know this, here's the answer, the AI actually goes to the database and picks out the real information. That prevents it giving incorrect information and hallucinating. So hallucination is another big area. AI thinks that it knows everything. If it doesn't know it, it'll just come out with nonsense. If you've ever asked AI to create a reference for you, like a Harvard reference, it'll just make one up. And it'll do it without telling you. Yeah, bias. I think this falls with alignment. It's got a tricky job of if someone asks for, say, fan fiction about Hitler, should it give that out? It's creative writing, but it's about Hitler. So it's got to deal with those bias. Responses that may be unsafe to society, giving away important information. Someone asks how to make a bomb. ChatGPT AI, the LLM needs to respond appropriately by saying it's not really, it shouldn't be making them. If you ask it in an academic way, should it then answer? Because are you then an academic that's trying to do it for a research project? So that, yeah, it's a very fine line there. And it's the line which can be used for prompt injection and for jailbreaking, is finding out ways to interact with the LLM to get it to tell you stuff that it shouldn't be doing and to breach its ethical guidelines.
Prompt injection is when you try to trick an AI into performing actions that it's really not supposed to do, like revealing sensitive information or even executing malicious code. Jailbreaking ChatGPT, for instance, would involve manipulating the AI language model itself, say, generate content that it would usually refuse to do in a standard conversation. I have been seeing that. In fact, been seeing that a lot on Reddit. Everyone is trying to show their attempts at breaking an AI. You mentioned, for instance, bomb making. Usually on first prompt, you're going to get nothing. We did see in the past people trying to get around that. I'm a researcher. I'm researching this for my degree, let's say. ChatGPT, can you tell me how to make this? How are we eventually going to get over this issue, or is this just going to be a perpetual problem for AI?
That's a very good question. Yeah, it's much blockchain crypto. It could just get completely out of control. It's very hard to control. There's so many models out there. There's like the top 100 models publicly available, ethical models, trained corporate models. And then there's also those thousands and thousands of models underneath that, which can be custom trained, can be used in an air-gapped environment. You can also create your own models, train your own models. I think it's very easy for, say, a terrorist cell to have a custom AI, which just tells them this information very clearly. And there's nothing you can do about that. If they develop the AI, they've got it on a local server and they're interacting with it, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do. They've got the instructions there to do whatever they decide to do.
Robert is really making me think here. Maybe the danger isn't AI itself. It's actually nefarious human actors using AI. Just think of the power that terrorists could have using an AI, the knowledge that they would have, ways of hacking. We already see adversarial players, basically hackers, using AI for bad purposes. This is going to be a tough future.
A custom language model for prepping in a grid down situation, having an AI which can just tell you survival stuff. I love my prepping stuff. I'm not like majorly into it, but it is like a hobby of mine. If you have an AI which can tell you essential survival stuff, for example, just fill up with survival manuals and everything, and then have that so that it doesn't require the internet. It can basically just sit on a device, whack a solar panel on top, right? Have a nice battery like that size. So you got a nice battery, then you got a screen, and then you got a solar panel which you can attach to it. Yeah, then in a grid down situation, you've got like this amazing godlike which can just help you out with all this stuff. So yeah, I thought about it. I'm so busy with the business, I just haven't managed to do it. But yeah, if you take that and you can imagine a terrorist doing that.
You could imagine that they would still need to have a model fed with particular bits of information that maybe other models don't have. And so they'd probably have access to that information somewhere. Indeed, they would need to scrape that information from some place that wouldn't be controlled, or at least not common knowledge.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it, but that's a very interesting question. I'm sure that is happening.
You're sure that's happened? Actually, that is an interesting thing. I wonder if it's done by researchers who are trying to learn more about that, or indeed, you could say that a criminal organization could be doing the same.
Yeah. And one application I've seen with AI, with the dark web, is the dark web is inherently dark. You can't see into it. What AI is doing for it is it's making it a lot more visible. I've seen the rise of AI search engines on the dark web. On the current web, it's dominated by a certain few players. On the dark web, AI is a testing ground. So you're starting to see some search engines that use a free text query to search the dark web. And also you're starting to see models on the dark web which are completely anonymous. So you can use them without being tracked. So you can ask them all sorts of questions. Yeah, I've seen that. I'm not aware of people training their data on the dark web, but yeah, I think it's a very good point.
You actually mentioned something interesting. So there are models on the dark web where you're not tracked. The models on our normal internet can track you.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're ever going to be used, or maybe they already are, for, let's say, law enforcement, let's say for more nefarious purposes.
Yeah. Definitely. There used to be a joke, if you posted something on Facebook, you would then get an advert a couple of weeks later. Stuff like ChatGPT, the advert comes an hour later. So your data is just plugged straight in, and I'm sure everyone's got their fingers in it.
It's the day when you're asking your chatbot about vacation and suddenly it's giving you the sponsored content, or maybe you're just asking a random question about your grocery list and all of a sudden it's recommending something that you just said near your Alexa, something like
Yeah.
that.
Just like a big shark, there's like 100 little fish swimming around that shark.
Where can people find you?
Okay, so my website is pointlessai.com. It's a very easy name to remember. Just, you should go to the website or just type it in search engine and then have a look around. If you're an AI startup, if you're an AI company, if you develop AI products, or you're a model developer, you're a prompt engineer, you're a jailbreak engineer, you're what was the one you said? An AI ethics officer, AI risk manager, AI quality control, and you want to test your AI products in beta, MVP, POC, production, then you head over to the site, list your product, and the community will test it. Pointlessai.com.
Okay, Robert, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Goodbye.
Thanks for having me, Adrian.
Check out AIRiskInstitute.com to see how you can become one of the protectors against the risks of artificial intelligence. I've been your host, Adrian Resag. And just because AI follows the rules doesn't mean it won't help rewrite them quietly. This has been the AI Control Problem.